Yeah, I made this presentation very quickly in a way, so I will try to make it flow. I want you to try to notice what is happening in you while I'm telling anything, and I would love to be challenged also in the end, or whatever. And I'm going to try to tell why I choose the subject, so a bit of my history, and why did I do it, and how was the process for me, also the process of actually doing it and trying to speak about the conflict itself in Israel, but also how it was for me and what are my questions and how it relates to my process in you. I will try to do it in a light way, even though it's a heavy subject. So if I'm presenting something in a funny, light way, it doesn't mean that it's not heavy. It's just I want to keep the balance. Okay. So I prefer to call it the Israeli-Palestinian Alliance and not the conflict, because this is what we're striving for. Yeah? And I will start by describing how it is for me, how it was for me to grow up in Israel, how I was raised. So I was raised, my parents were always voting for left-wing politicians, yeah, but we never got very deep into the politics because not many people do anyway. I think, like to understand really in a holistic way what is happening in your country and in the world. So I will first describe how is it like the common, in a way, like in very short time, how it is the naive understanding in Israel of what's happening. Okay. So.
Do you want me to help you?
Yeah, but I want to test it myself. So.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so this is how. So when you grow up in Israel, so this is Israel, yeah. The green one are Islamic countries, and what is said to you is like it's like you feel like you're under pressure all the time. Like there's danger. Okay, there's danger all the time. So this is ISIS, and no one likes us. This is anti-Semitic, and it's just very dangerous for everyone. Yeah? This is how you grew up. I know that it's very difficult to imagine for someone that lives like in Europe or something else because everything is so open. But for me, going here in Sweden and seeing a sign that says like Oslo, for example, I can just cross to another country is something that's very different. Something that, wow. So yeah, that's a part of it. And yeah, I can understand why. I mean, for 2,000 years, a lot of bad things happen to Jewish people all over, and there's very deep anxiety that is, yeah, you just feel it in the daily life, and people are not necessarily aware of it. They're not aware of it at all, but it's there. And it also happens today. This is a synagogue in Copenhagen that there was a bombing in the bar mitzvah there a few months ago, and yeah, and I can see this. I can see this on the naive side. This is a picture after this bombing in Copenhagen. A group of Muslim people coming to protect it. So I just thought it was really beautiful. So I put this picture. So what they will see in Israel, they will say, yeah, okay, after 2,000 years of really bad experiences all over, we finally got our country back. The land of the land of our ancestors. Everyone was very happy. You know, going on the streets. Yeah, we got the land, we got the country, and this is the story that most of the Israelis live in. And then 7 countries of the surrounding declare war on us. Yeah, on the country that we got. Luckily we had our army. Everything is very heroic. All the stories are very heroic. The IDF is a moral. It says whole morality. It's a very moral army. They try to do as much as they can to not hurt innocent people and civilians, and only go for the people who want to harm us. It's a defense force. We try to make peace. Israel tries to make peace. He goes all over, knocking on all the doors, trying to sustain the Middle East for not being. But we're dealing with terrorists that we cannot speak with. Yeah, Hamas. It's not possible to speak with. It's not human beings. And these people are so corrupted that it's just not possible. I mean, for us, we would love to live happily together in peace, but that's just not possible. And that's life. Nothing to do about it. And yeah, it's just like this. You will be 18, you will go to the army, you will be released from the army, you will go to travel, then you come back, you work, and your kids will also go to the army, and that's just how it is. And yeah, and I understand that it's very difficult to ask why, it's very difficult to take responsibility, it's very difficult to go deeper and deeper into this subject, such a difficult subject, because it means that you first of all, taking responsibility is always difficult, I guess, for people. And yeah, and also understanding someone that is a threat to you, understanding the pain of someone that is a threat to you because of their pain, which you're a threat to them because of your pain, something that's not easy to reach. Anyway, the last summer there was this last war in Israel, Protective Edge, and I saw that all of my friends everyone in Israel, most of the people in Israel, not everyone, a lot of the people in Israel are focused on explanation, on like posting on Facebook, why is it, so they will say, what would you do if people would drop bombs on you, and Hamas uses children as human shields, and why is Israel right? Why is it the righteous war? That's what most people say. There were also very strong left voices, there were also very strong left of Jewish and Arab refused to be enemies, and it was, yeah, and also there became a division between right and left. It was suddenly very present, very, very present for me, because before it was, I mean, now I read some things I wrote when I was like 20, 21, and I was surprised to see how much I did have an understanding of, I mean, kind of unconscious of, yeah, everyone should live happily together, borders are an illusion and so on. And obviously that's true, but it's not where we are right now. And yeah, and suddenly I took it really hard. I was very, very depressed. I was very in the war. I started to, and I started to move like stepping out of naivety and starting to take responsibility and saying to all of my friends that we're putting their energy on this. Why put your energy on this? See what you can do. See where you can take responsibility. How come you don't understand the other side? Yeah. So I would tell them, yeah, look at what happens in Gaza. I mean, these people, this is their life. What do you expect them to do? You don't expect them to hate you, to want to. It's the same thing. It's the same circle of hate. And they would say, yeah, but what do? Yeah, it's just a lot of pain from everyone. And there will always be arguments. So I would say this. They would say, yeah, they elected Hamas. They know what they're doing, or something like that. And it was very, also when there's a war in Israel, so when there's not a war, there's a lot of division, left and right, secular and religious, rich and poor, so on. But when there's a war, suddenly everyone becomes like a big community, and they're like, yeah, we want to protect our sons that are going to protect us, and these people lost their homes 70 years ago. We just came here out of nowhere, and we got. It's not a matter of whether it was right or wrong to do that. It's a matter of this what happened. If someone would have come to your house and said, "I lived here 2,000 years ago. You need to get out of here now," you wouldn't accept it. I mean, it's not something that's easy to accept. Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, a lot of arguments in both sides. So this is something that's important to remember. It's a realization that I had, and I will talk about more later. Look how the refugees camp look. Look how the Arab cities look. That's how they live. And look at Tel Aviv. How do you expect them to take responsibility? How do you expect Palestinians to take responsibility when they live in such shit, when their life is so shitty and your life is so good, and you don't step into it. You just think of how you're gonna become develop your individuality, go to study, go to do whatever. You don't take care of your neighbors. I hope I. And also, yeah, you're saying that the IDF is such a moral army, and which is true in a way, but also there are immoral things that happen. This is a picture of two soldiers. This is a Palestinian a man that was arrested, and they're like taking pictures of it just to show. And yeah, but the idea when something like that happens, then these people will put to prison and something like that. And else. Anyway, on that time, fortunately, before there was the war, it was already scheduled. There was a project in the north of Israel. I think I told most of the people we built a playground for children. It's a German group that goes to conflict areas and build this playground for children. And we did it with the German group. This is me, this is my brother. There were some other Israelis, and these girls are Palestinian, and these guys are Palestinian. And it was a real success. I mean, it was also very crazy because in the middle of the craziness, you just hear about people dying all the time, but you're in this bubble, similar to here in a way, and there was no internet, no phone. We're just together, and everything is like put aside, and you're just friends, and you're just human beings. I mean, you see the challenge. I saw the challenges because obviously, when you come to talk about how do you see the things, and when you come to talk about strategies to solve the thing, then it starts to the perceptions, the underlying perceptions start to come up. But yeah, we'll talk about it more later. But that's the second level of meeting the other person as a friend. If you do that, then there is a chance. That's what we feel. Yeah, it was a real success. It was beautiful. And then I can be. And so for me the picture was more of like coming from this naivety to just being able to criticize Israel fully and see how can I take responsibility and what we should do and why, and seeing the Palestinians as oppressed and so on. And yeah, and I came here and I came to Europe and I saw. And I see, I mean, I try to differ the voices that I was raised with. Yeah, Europe don't like Israelis, don't like Jewish people, for Palestinians, and so on, from what is really actually happening. And obviously here is something that's so totally different, but yeah, being outside of here, but also hearing people hear from what they heard of and how do they see. I see that the perception that people have an opinion about conflict, which is very easily goes towards criticism towards Israel and without a full understanding of the situation. And that made me scared also. I know that this is a dumb place I have to live. And I know that, and it made me also reflect on me going home and criticizing Israel and understanding that I was able to do that because I also understand the positive things of Israel and understand that. And I'm not coming from the outside and saying that. Yeah, hearing things that I heard a lot here, in Europe, and just meeting people on the street, and immediately they start talking to you about politics, and yeah, I don't want to talk about politics. Like in comparison to the Holocaust, or hearing that the British gave a land that was not theirs to give, or something like that. Yeah, you don't probably know the whole history of the conflict, but for me, that would mean that my grandfather would have probably get murdered in Iraq. And so, yeah, I'm happy that this country was given to Israel, and I'm not happy about people needing to leave their homes, but it doesn't necessarily come together. And hearing that, and I just really, it's important for me to emphasize when I'm talking about the Holocaust, I'm not talking about, I can assume that it's a wound for people here, and it's not, I'm not putting the focus on anyone, it's just that it's something of humanity. It's something that happens in humanity, and I take responsibility as well for it. But putting those two occasions in the same breath, a war, which is sort of reciprocal with the Holocaust, it's very dangerous. And what happens in this when people do this is that it will create a situation that it will lead to a second Holocaust. Because when an Israeli person will hear this, he will just be more afraid in his position, it won't heal anything and just makes him more aggressive, and therefore it might really become this in the future. Another thing that I saw here is and you saw it, that I had it the whole year long with me. So if the naive person will say, yeah, the US or whatever Western country is the free world, and this is what it says on the news, and that are the bad terrorists that we need to fight. And then I saw that a lot of people that go to like an alternative way and start like you start watching all the alternative news and something like that, you just reverse it. You go to the other side. You don't incorporate everything. You start criticizing the West all the time and looking at everyone else as oppressed by the West, and this is equally dangerous. And it also prevents you from seeing things as they really are. Yeah. So that's why all along the year, whenever things like that was presented, it was really important for me to balance. It's also something that I have, which Martin also mentioned something that for me is like I told him that it's important not to stuck in the criticism. He told me, yeah, but you're stuck in the criticism of the criticism, which is true, and it's something I will work with, but I stand behind it, but not in the form of criticism. I also had questions of Jewish identity and Israeli identity because looking from the outside, I saw a lot of things that are characteristics of Israelis and Jews that I don't like, a lot of things that I do like, and the last 2 days I was in the liberal synagogue here in Stockholm, and I also had a lot of conversation with the rabbi there, and I got to some conclusions of holding two sides. Having the possibility to have some sort of identity which connects me to other people that carry this identity, that's on the more lower emotional level, which is just the way things are today in the world. That I know that I can go to anywhere in the world and go to the synagogue and I will be taken care of. But on the more spiritual level, I know that it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist. And a lot of questions about Israelis and this. I saw how, when I was in the Philippines, for example, I saw how different my trip was in the Philippines while incorporating another culture, and opposed to going to South America with my friends and taking Israel with me, just being an observer, which is, everything has its advantages and disadvantages. So, my personal project in the beginning, what I decided to do is to write sort of a book. Now, in this book, I wanted to incorporate different articles from many different points of view, and to see how we can work towards the solution of this conflict. I wanted to incorporate like pieces of art, so it will be also like different poems and paintings of Palestinians and Israeli artists, and also peace project. Tell about peace project, what's happening in Israel, because there's a lot of things happening, and also like different tasks, like go have a so if it's from Israel, go have a conversation with the Palestinian person, or the other way around. That was the vision, and I think that if I want to work in the future with the conflict, it's something that I really should do in like really make it happen. I started it. I will talk about it more if I have time afterwards. As a basis to what I want to bring. I also wrote a questionnaire. I sent it. I got several, maybe 10 Israeli responses, maybe 3 from the international community, and I didn't get any Palestinian responses. Because I just didn't put too much effort of marketing it. But this was also like crossing the threshold for me. This is also something that happens in Egypt. I see that everything is very possible, and that everything is easy for me, and I can just do. I haven't done this year because there's not much time. But I saw how much I was very comfortable approaching just people that I haven't talked to for like years, just because I wanted their opinion, and they were fun, and it was interactive, and it gave me a lot of strength. Plus, you see, this is Arabic. It's beautiful, right? friends from the Rainbow Project, I sent them I wanted to make it in Arabic to make it more accessible to people that speak Arabic, Palestinians, and they just it was very long, they just translated the whole thing like very quickly, like one by heart so much. And that's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. So anyway, during the year dealing with this question, I went a lot of like thinking in myself, like a lot of I went to thinking or analyzing the whole process, the whole thing from many different angles, and what can be done, what can't be done, what works, what doesn't work, and I heard it from many different perspectives. Now I also talked to a lot of people. I got a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different opinions, and I think that in order to understand the conflict between two people or between two nations or whatever, you have to do this, because otherwise you don't really know. And I still don't know. I know what is the perspective from the outside. I know very well what's the perspective in Israel. And the Palestinian perspective I know to an extent, but I know that in order to really know, I will need to live in a Palestinian village at some point, which I will do. Hopefully, I don't know how, but I will find a way. So I'm going to tell you what some of the encounters that are important that stuck with me, like different. I remember with Orland, for example, Michaela asked him a question of how do you speak to someone that speaks hatred? And Orland said, yeah, how do you speak to a terrorist or something like that? And he said, how do I need to be for you to be different? Or I would put it in other words, what do you need? What do you need from me? What can I do? And I think that's a really beautiful thing, because that gives the responsibility, that's taking the responsibility, but that's also remembering that there's someone on the other side that needs to cooperate with you. And for me, that's a really huge guideline in resolving the conflict and reconciliation. For example, he wasn't a contributor, but we saw the course.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and Martin Rosenberg did a lot of communication. He also did a lot of reconciliation work in Israel, and a lot of the tools that he uses of owning what you say. It's also a lot of the things that we talk about here. It's you can really meet, and that's what I'm also that's what I'm going for. I was striving for in the presentation to show that we need to meet as human beings, which you all know, obviously, but it's not always that easy. So I went to the Philippines also, and in the Philippines there's also a similar conflict, and that also was interesting to see. There's also Muslim community that their land was taken from them, and they claimed from the Philippine government. And it's interesting to see how Filipinos speak similar to Israelis about their conflict. It just showed me how archetypal the whole thing is. How it's not the I that speaks. It's just ideas that come from both sides, and it's not thinking that's being done. It's just a situation where human beings react to it. They react to it, and they will react the same. And Nicanor told me an interesting story also about. He also did reconciliation work in Israel, and that also stuck with me. And he told me that they put, I don't know, some kind of leaders, religious leaders, or something together, Jewish and Muslim, and the Muslim people ask like, why are the Israelis so obsessed with their security? We saw it in the synagogue. We went to the synagogue a few days ago. We started they asked a question if we're going into the CIA headquarters or something. And for me, that's normal. And so they said, yeah, for them to meet. The Israeli said, yeah, you want to know why? Let's go to Auschwitz. Let's go to Poland. And they went. And he told me about this moment where they all started like they were there in the camps, and Muslim people and Jewish and the mediators, and they all started like crying. And I think all of these stories, all of this stories from people of these opinions, all of these perspectives, it always comes down to the same point, and it's about the meeting. And having all of these voices in my mind now, it makes it in a way. So I would talk. So I was in Israel, yeah, and 2 weeks ago, and it makes it so that I will talk to a person, and every sentence that they will say about the conflict, it doesn't matter if they're Palestinian, Israeli, whatever. Every sentence that they will say, I will have an article to say about it, and it's And I had a very interesting, talk with a friend of mine in Israel, which I don't have much time to go into, but he's in a very fearful, hatred place. He thinks that all Muslim people wants to kill him, and that there's no hope for this, and it just brought me down a little bit. Seeing, I mean, this is my friend, and he listens to me, and he knows. And when I talk with arguments, I can talk to arguments with the Israeli person or a Palestinian person representing their own side, and they will both feel that they don't really know if I use arguments. But that doesn't work. That doesn't bring them to. That doesn't push them towards the step to understanding the other. The arguments doesn't work, and I see it from experience. And having all these voices in my mind, I ask myself, what is the truth? You know? because it can be very confusing. It's also questions that I have for myself about doubt, about truth, about knowing, not knowing. A lot of times we say I don't know. And it's important for me to be able to hold the doubts, but also carry a certain kind of knowing, because if I talk to a friend of mine and he says that Muslim people wants to kill him, and I say maybe, I don't know, and I will refer to it as equal opinions, and not knowing that from my experience that I know the laws of meeting between human beings, and I know that if you come with empathy, if you come with love, it comes back. If I put it as equal opinion, then it's dangerous. It's also not true. So it's also a question that I have: how do I know that I know? And Roi influenced me a lot. Also, I think that connection will continue, and just his being also Palestinian. The story that he told gave me a lot of hope, and him as a person, and it kind of put the final understanding for me of what should be done in this conflict right now on my side. And what I've come to realize is that we talked about the more beautiful world that is 5 minutes away. It's not like that. And if you will think that it's like that, you'll get burned out, and but the utopia is us asking the question and trying to strive for it, and not putting it as a goal. Because if we become goal-driven, then we're doing the same thing. It's a materialistic thought. We as human beings here, we don't know what we're doing here actually, but it's all a process, and we're learning, and it might take time. But for me, it's important. I easily get sucked into this goal-driven thinking, and then when I go into Israel, and then I see that people still are afraid from each other, or angry with each other, or kill each other, then I would say, "Fuck, it doesn't work." It's not a 1-year project, and it's not a 2-year project, and it's not a 100-year project. That's the whole thing. And what I come to realize that what lies in the core of everything is that any division is a problem. So if I divide myself from this friend of mine that speaks those things, then I'm not helping them. I need to step into him, and it's the division between right and left, rich and poor. yeah, especially when I'm emotionally attached, when someone I don't know, it will be easier. But when it's my friend, and I need to really consider what he's saying, and be interested of him with knowing that it comes from pain, and that's not really him talking about it, being able to say it. And can I have 2 more minutes?
Yes.
And yeah, it takes every moment, it takes work, but being also honestly interested. And it won't work with arguments. I kind of see it won't work with arguments, because I can argue and you can say this is true, this is not true, this is true, this is not true. And he was left speechless. He was left speechless with my arguments, but it didn't make the transition. So carrying this, knowing that what he's saying is coming from pain, and not doubting that maybe it's really the truth. And it comes from everything. And just offering myself again and again and again, of being interested in him. Where is it coming from? What is your pain? I know that he carries a lot of pain, and that's what. And when you meet like this, yeah, then you can start talking about strategy, because now what's happening between the politicians and so on is that the wrong discussion is being held. Yeah, the discussion is being made of who gets how much land, who deserved what, who was right, who was wrong. That's not the discussion. Yeah, the strategies, there will be challenges. Start talking about these strategies. Yeah, but it will come after we will be able to meet each other as friends, and then I'm just working with my friend towards a solution, which is complicated, but much easier. Yeah, just being interested. That's the only thing we can actually do with carrying our knowing. Everything else that I've said. Without carrying the world on my shoulders, because for me that's something I can also get easily sucked into, and to understand that there will always need to be someone on the other side that has their own process and their own stage of life, and not get frustrated if they don't I will sit and I stand and I say all my wise things, and they will say, yeah, you're right, and now we can all live in this. When it's not like that, not to get burned up. There are things that are beyond us. That's what he also said. Things are beyond us. And we can only do our own. And then maybe things will look nicer if we do it somewhere in the future.
We have 7 minutes,
7 minutes.
for 7 minutes for questions and reflections and thank yous.
So can I use 2 minutes just to talk about what I started with the book? Yeah. So this is the question. I try to make it like hard head and turns, like what do you know, and try to doubt how the people know these things, and then trying to go to the emotional level of what are their emotions about, and then more of the thinking level of what can be done. Yeah, you don't understand this, but I had an idea of making like a dialogue, which also I want to do with Firas here live. I mean, in the book, like making a dialogue, because the whole conflict can be, I don't have time for it, can be drawn in the dialogue of two people have like back and forth argument, and then on one point just starting to see each other, and then different types of articles or chapters, the paradox between the importance of knowing the history and its irrelevancy. I thought about making a love story between an Israeli and Palestinian. Looking at the biblical story of, I don't know if you know it, about Isaac and Ishmael. This is the archetypal story about the division between the two sons of Abraham, which then became the Jewish people and the Muslim people, and the responsibility of Isaac, which is like the stronger brother, to take the responsibility as far as he can. Yeah, don't talk about justice. Justice is not what we want to achieve. and conflict.
Thank you very much. Very nice to look into what you've been thinking about. I have a question about those peace projects. Like, how do you see the effect on the short term, and what do you wish that they accomplish in the long term? I think because it's, like you said, it's not just like a quick change. It's like it's going to be like a 100 or more year process of healing. And I think people who work really hard in those peace projects can get quite disillusioned sometimes. So my question is, like, do you see that they're really important to keep on be present in Israel? And what do you see is the short-term effect, and what would you wish, or what do you think will be the long-term effect of those peace projects?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it depends a lot. It's positive, and obviously it's something that's necessary, and that's maybe the only thing that can really be done. There are a lot of projects that are discussions, and that doesn't work. And that's another tool that I got in Europe of how to do this in me. So that when you do this, I think that even one connection can go a long way. And I think that that it doesn't happen enough, and it doesn't get the voice that it needs to, because the voice is in the newspaper and the world. And what came to my mind when you asked it, I wrote like a bill proposal, like a law that I had thought of that. So if the army is really only as a defense force, and what it comes as a solution, as a short-term solution for a problem that there is, which is the conflict, then why don't you also have an option of the long-term solution? So why not have the possibility to trade your 3-year army service in a 3-year peace service? You can fund a project, you can join existing projects. I think that, so then you start talking about whether or not it's top down or bottom up. These grassroots projects are bottom up, and we know that it has its maybe spiritual force, but we also need to work in both ways. Does that answer the question?
For now.
Yes.
I'm maybe a bit naive, but I'm Dutch and I live in Sweden. I'm quite happy. And so I wonder how important in this story is the geography of Israel. Why Israel? Why that spot? And how important is that in the conflict?
Why? Some would say it's historical reasons, some would say it's religious /
But for yourself, is
Why
it
is
important, that spot on this massive planet? It needs to be that spot.
for me to live in.
And to feel Israel or Israeli.
I was born into it, so I know that for a lot of people it is, for many people it is. For me now it's home, so for me now it's important because of what it is now. I don't know how would I have thought if you take me 100 years back and ask me where to go. I love the place, surely, and it's it's also, it's not going to change. It's not going to change. So yeah, I surely have an unconscious connection to this place just from my ancestors being there and everything that happened there. And I do feel also a connection to I see a lot of wisdom in Judaism, which was originated there. And so I do feel this connection. If you ask if I see myself living somewhere else or as a country to be somewhere else. Yeah, because the first one, I don't know, I think that I will live in Israel, and the second one, I think that it's like asking, it takes weeks.
I just wonder in terms of nation states as well, whether that is in the long run actually something that will become obsolete globally.
Hopefully.
Even, you know. And then the question is, how important is the geo aspect of it?
Yeah, the thing is that I see that people from Europe are thinking on that terms of obsoleting, of making the nation state obsolete and all religious, because you're there, because you've been through your wars and you've been through all of this, and now it's you don't want it anymore. And it's kind of this, the war thing became obsolete, and the nationalism was there, and everyone got their identification, and now it's obsolete. But for many people, for the Jewish people, for the Palestinian people, it's far from this. So, yeah. Does that answer? I think that in the process, there will need to be a safe for these some years. If we talk about the future, there will need to be a safe national solution, and then maybe can go beyond it. But also maybe there will be a quantum jump. I don't know.
Time is actually over, but Bruno wants to say something.
No, when you were presenting, I'm more thinking about your personal process to create. And then what triggers me, what about the utopia? Because we had a lot of talks about that. And I see, like, not that I disagree, but I just want to comment on that because I think I agree with you because this holds so many problems. And you can really explain the facts, like, and then I see your view, I completely agree. But as Christiana asked about being a long term, sometimes I think it's just like to keep you walking, you know. Because sometimes like when you really start to do things, it takes much longer and then you see so much barriers to accomplish, like even in relationships and. So I would also like suggest you refuse some kind of utopia or dream or long-term vision as something that doesn't work because I think it's important to our sanity.
No, sure. I agree that it should be the vision. But what I'm saying is that if you think of it as 5 minutes away, then you will get turned off the way I see it.
No,
As a vision, sure. I think we can live as individuals in our minds, and this is what we are here to do anyway. Then to make it and to bring it to other people will take time. It's really needed.
Thank you.
We're starting.